Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews. Today I want to go on a rant about the Switch 2 and all the discourse concerning its power level. Now there's a lot to criticize about the Switch 2 and Nintendo at this point. Switch 2 is very expensive, but the games of course are the most big divisive talking point, with Mario Kart World being $80. And it's not a new 3D Mario, it's not a new Zelda, it's a Mario Kart game, a spin-off game that's $80 at launch when everything else is not. There's a lot to criticize with Nintendo right now. But one thing I do want to go to bat for the Switch 2's case here is the power level, because I'm getting a little sick and tired of hearing the discourse talking about how it's only as powerful as a PlayStation 4. What are we even talking about at this point? If you look at the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One lineup of games, we have some of the most beautiful games ever made on those consoles. PlayStation 4 specifically, I can think of three that really come to mind that stand out as visual stunners. You've got Ghost of Tsushima, one of the most stunning games I have ever played. So much dedication went into that game to make it absolutely gorgeous, and it runs extremely well on a base PlayStation 4, not even just a PlayStation 4 Pro. And then if you look at The Last of Us Part 2, that game is incredibly realistic. It has some of the best visuals I'd ever seen in any game ever, but also some of the best animations. Like, the way that they do everything in that game feels very lifelike. And then of course, how can we talk about like gorgeous games, visual attention to detail, without talking about Red Dead Redemption 2? That game is a masterclass in what video games can look like and how they can feel as like a true to life kind of experience. Those three stand out in my mind as some of the best looking games even to this day. I still think Red Dead Redemption 2 is the best looking game I've ever played. And that game's several years old at this point. And that ran on a PlayStation 4. Though it ran on an Xbox One. I know it runs better on a PlayStation 4 Pro, and I'm sure it looks a little bit better if they scaled it up to the PlayStation 5. But you'll have the same people that complain that like the jump between graphics in the PlayStation 4 Pro and the PlayStation 5 is not very big, that go on to complain about the Switch 2 not being powerful enough. We're looking at some of the best looking games ever, and the Switch 2, while it does have like specs comparable to the PlayStation 4, in a recent interview with CD Projekt Red, they talked about how they started working on the Cyberpunk 2077 port over to the Switch 2, and how the way that the architecture of the system is, sure, the specs are about on par with the PlayStation 4, but some of the other things that they do with it make it so that it boosts performance substantially and makes things run much better than what you would see on last gen consoles. So I would guess that we're looking at something closer to the Pro level of consoles in the Xbox Series S at this point in terms of its performance. The way that they scale things up, the way the back end of things that they do to compensate for maybe a lack of specs. And either way, the console is on par with last generation, which is some of the best graphics ever. I think it's really funny at this point that we're still criticizing like graphics so much. Nintendo has proven that their games are just the best in the business regardless of graphics. Breath of the Wild is not a graphical powerhouse. It's gorgeous. It's fantastic to look at for sure. I don't want to like disparage what they did with that because it looks fantastic, but it's nothing compared to like Red Dead Redemption 2. Like there's a big disparity between graphics there, but they make it work extremely well. Same thing with something like Mario Odyssey. That game is stunning to this day. Nintendo knows how to optimize their hardware and put out a great experience on their console. And now they've got a ton more power to work with the Switch 2, even if it's not up to par with the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. I don't think it should matter all that much. It's close enough at this point. Between the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, I think we've seen the most minimal change in graphics. Honestly, I think this is the smallest jump we have ever seen, even between the PlayStation 4, base PS4, and the PlayStation 5 Pro. There's not a whole lot of difference at this point. Once you get up to that like 2K to 4K difference, I really just don't see it. Maybe I'm just a small, smooth monkey brain at this point. Maybe the elevated beings can see the difference more clearly and have been trained on this and can just really hone in on the graphical fidelity of things. I just don't care. I don't think it really matters much at all. I think between last generation and this generation, games just look great no matter what. They might look a little bit sharper on the PlayStation 5. I will definitely give it that. Games like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, definitely only capable on the PlayStation 5. fantastic showcase of what the console can do. But we're also not seeing a whole lot of jumps in graphical fidelity or like big leaps and bounds for this console generation, because they've been making games cross-platform, presumably because the player base is bigger and because there's just not that much difference anymore. So I don't like that criticism anymore, that the Switch 2 is only as powerful as a PlayStation 4. I think this is like top of the line kind of visuals and everything in a portable console that's going to have great battery life, that's going to be one of those things where Nintendo optimizes their console and makes everything look phenomenal. DK Bonanza looks great. I'm really excited to play that one, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with 3D Mario going forward. I would love to see a new interesting visual art style, and I think they're going to pull out all the stops to show us how powerful this console really can be in the right hands. So I think that the Switch 2 is going to be plenty powerful. I don't see any troubles porting most things over to it. I think most next-gen games will also go to the Nintendo Switch 2. GTA 6, that's a big maybe, like the biggest maybe of all time. I feel like that's a next-generation game 100,000%. That's if we ever get it, of course. It got delayed until next year, and who's to say they won't delay it all over again. But if we do ultimately get it, I don't know if that one will come to Switch 2. I think that's maybe a bit of a leap, but I think they could do it. I think that they absolutely should do it because they'd print money. I mean, Rockstar's already going to print money selling it on the PlayStation and Xbox. Why not rake in even more dough with a Switch 2 version? I think most games will make the jump to Switch 2 without a whole lot of fuss. I don't think it'll be a huge deal. I really don't. I think the Switch 2 is plenty powerful. I'm excited to test it out myself this week. I will let you know. I plan on getting Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. I want to put my money where my mouth is. I tout preservation and like physical media a lot on my channel. So I want to support the only third-party developer right now that's going to have the full game on cartridge at launch. I absolutely want to go for that. So I am going to be buying that. I'll tell you how well it runs in docked mode and in handheld mode. I'm hoping to get a really clean, smooth experience. If it happens to suck, I will let you know, and I will come out with another video saying, whoops, I'm eating crow here. It actually maybe needs to be a little bit more powerful, but I don't expect that to be the case. I expect that in the hands of a competent developer and a competent like port team, I think that most things, if not everything next gen, could run just fine on the the Switch 2, excuse me, coming from like a PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. I'm especially excited to see how Elden Ring runs. I think the Dusk Bloods looks phenomenal. I just see a lot of promise from the Switch 2 moving forward, and so I'm really excited about it for those things, of course. Again, Nintendo does a lot of crappy business decisions. They have a lot of problems of their own. I'm not a staunch Nintendo defender, but I will defend their games, and I'm very hopeful that the Switch 2 will live up to my expectations in terms of graphics at the very least. Let me know in the comments section down below what you think. Do you think PlayStation 4 graphics are plenty good, or do you think that it should be beefier? What are your thoughts on the Switch 2? I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.